Yep.
Okay, so hi, I'm Alex Trerith, and I'm the project manager for this project that we've done for the Royal Navy, which has been called Man Overboard. Next slide, please, Calvin. Right, so this game is essentially a virtual reality experience that the Royal Navy are going to be using at careers fairs and taking around to schools, things like that, to promote a career in the Royal Navy. Our overriding principle on making this is we wanted it to be easy to play, so that the Royal Navy can just get it set up and let people have a go, and then it needs to actually be quite easy to play as well. So it's all very straightforward. It's been designed to play on the HTC Vive VR headset, as that is the model that the Royal Navy are using. But we have tested it does work on other headsets as well, so if they change their hardware, it will continue to work. And we built it in Unreal Engine 5.3. Next slide, please, Callum. So I'm just going to go over our sort of process of putting this game together. So we started out with some mood boards where we collected a lot of imagery of the Man Overboard process, basically what the Navy do when someone falls into the ocean. So they actually provided us with some videos that we used as a reference, so we've just got a lot of imagery. Next slide, Callum. We then put together some storyboards. This sort of goes through the script that the Navy gave us, which actually really gave us a nice head start on this, as we knew what the narrative of the game would be. So our storyboards just provide a bit of a visual of how the narrative is coming together. We then have some rough level maps to show what each area of the game is supposed to look like. These didn't end up being completely accurate to the actual measurements, but they were a nice sort of rough guideline for how we were putting everything together. We did some concept art. Because we had a lot of photographic imagery to work with, pretty much the concept art was just the model sheets for the crew, so that we'd have something to work with for modelling those. We put together a UE template, basically to try and get each level having the same template for the actual appearance of what buttons look like and the player interaction. So we actually got quite specific on this, on how big it should be, what colours it should be. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're now going to go through each team member to sort of talk a bit more about our specific roles on the project. So everybody else will be getting up. So I was the project manager on this. I was very much just sort of trying to keep us all on track and make sure that everything got done and everybody had something to do. My other sort of big responsibility on this was I did the crew. So I did the models, I textured them, and I'm actually really pleased with this because we've got male and female crew, we've got a variety of ethnicities, so this is intended to reflect how diverse Britain actually is, which I felt was really important for something that's going to be used for recruitment. So now anyone can pick this up and they can see someone that looks like them playing it. And I also did the AI for the crew men and women. So they wander around, they idle, they make gestures. Every now and then one of them will remember that they've forgotten something, they'll look in their pockets and then they'll go and find it. They won't find it, of course, but you know, it gave them a bit more personality, which I think really helped, because initially they were looking a bit creepy. My other major responsibility on this was making the oceans. I'm so pleased with how this has come out. I think we've got some really pretty water in this game, and I also got the buoyancy working, so objects can actually float, which means the man who's fallen overboard will actually not drown, which I think is quite important. Oh, and the other thing that I've changed in just the last couple of days, night mode now has a lot of fog coming into it, so it's got a bit more of a different mood to day mode because it's got this sort of quite heavy fog. Okay, so next slide. I'm pretty sure it's Callum's turn.
So my main role was to create assets and textures. So some of the stuff that I created was used, and some of the stuff I created was just to fill in the gap spaces, such as binoculars, which were used to find the player, and the life ring, which was used in an animation in a cutscene, and also created there's multiple stuff I created to fill in the gaps, which is this gyro, just because to make it more like an actual ship. I think that's it.
Have you got another slide?
No, I don't think I have another slide.
No. Okay. Chloe isn't here today, so Will checked in with her. I'm just going to quickly do an overview of what Chloe did because it was actually really important. So Chloe basically did all of the coding for the interior bridge level, which is the one where the player is pressing buttons and making a lot of things happen. Chloe did an absolutely enormous amount of work on this, and the result is really incredible because I know it was challenging to do. And yeah, so there's like buttons and flags and cutscenes. It was a lot of work. Chloe also got us some teleporters working. The player can actually wander out of the main area and explore the ship a little bit. So Chloe made these teleporters basically so that they can get back to where they're supposed to be if they get lost. Next slide. And yeah, Chloe also helped out with the assets on the bridge especially. So there were some lights, there was the helm console, all the buttons, fire extinguishers. I mean, a lot of the bridge Chloe helped out with. Next slide. Okay, it's Chris's turn.
Well, as you can see, Chris Anderson Begg. I was in charge, well, not in charge, I did a lot of modeling. A lot of it was used and wasn't used. As you can see over here, I did model hands and animate, took quite a while to do. And then I got handed over the crane, the claw, to take care of. It was somebody else's, but I ended up taking it and reworking it and texturing it. As I mentioned beforehand, there were quite a few other models that unfortunately haven't been used, but I thought these were the most important to put up.
Yeah, so I was in charge of a lot of the initial planning and blocking out, looking at all of the resources we had right at the start and trying to get it plotted out in Unreal Engine with a rough brush block out, which was, I'd never done something like that before with like such a large scale environment and enough to so much to consider. It was pretty accurate, it was pretty close. It wasn't quite the right scale, but it was close enough that everything was able to work, sort of after we got the main ship modelling. So that was my initial priority on that one. And then, in terms of gameplay elements, this was probably the biggest gameplay element I programmed for us. It was the bridge external level. The final level that I programmed wasn't nearly as complicated as this one. The binoculars are really I think my proudest thing on this project because you've got the proper view through them and you can see it, and I think that's really good. That's how Callum's model. There's some programming, and I think that's all I did.
Yep. Hello, I'm Harry. I took over the C deployment area after it was set up, so I could finish off and clean up on it just by adding the necessary assets needed. And yes, I was one of the 4 people who also worked on some of the coding bit of controls and a bit of animations to get working in the level. I was mostly focusing on the UI work before anything, and as you can see at the top left, that's what I set as a foundation mark, and everyone else followed along afterwards with all their levels. And then afterwards, my biggest priority was creating the cutscene for the sea boat, and that's probably one of the proudest things I was proud of, basically. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Well, hi, my name is Josh Lay, and I modelled the Type 45 destroyer. So at first I had started with the one the Navy gave us, and pretty much almost instantly ran into a lot of issues with it. So the whole fast part was actually making it usable and just understanding the workflow they use and just converting it to mine. So once I did that, did a lot of attaching and all that, made sure it worked in Unreal. Then once I did that, I added some more details I thought was lacking. Then once realising textures wouldn't work and they would be suitable, when unwrapped that, which took quite a long time, and I've never really unwrapped something of that size, so that was a skill. Then I learned Substance Painter, and then used Substance Painter for the first time, texture and all that, which is quite a process, but it's quite fun to learn. And that was that. And another thing I worked on was just filling in the extra parts, and yeah, I did more assets. So yeah.
So I was in charge of coding the Swim of the Watch level, so diving in, swimming out to the MV, grabbing them. And I mean, mainly I was in charge of all the sound for the game, so in the upcoming gameplay video, everything, I mean, most of the things you hear were made and implemented by me, including the voice acting, so yeah, look forward to that. And yeah, I did some 3D assets as well, mostly seen in the bridge. There's a few more on the next slide. So yeah, just simple little small things really. The main thing was the consoles on the previous slide. I was very happy with those. They took up a pretty big amount of time. So yeah, that's basically it for me.
Okay, right, so as an overview of the project then, so what went well, I think the game that we have now is actually pretty good. It's easy to play. We have just 3 controls that you have to worry about, and there's lots of instructions, both audio and visual, that show what you need to do. So I feel it's a really easy game to play now, which, you know, given some of the previous builds were really complicated, I think I'm really happy with how that's come together. We have mostly avoided motion sickness. There's a couple of moments, I think, like when you're jumping off the ship into the ocean. I really don't like that one myself. And I can only play this about twice before I start feeling a bit ill. But I don't think anyone else is having that problem. So I think we're pretty good there. We've got a lot of really nice assets. I mean, I think the stuff that we've got on the bridge and in the deployment area it's made a lot of difference actually having all of those assets in there. We got day and night mode working. Really pleased with that. They do have a very different mood playing them through. And as I mentioned earlier, the other areas of the ship are explorable, which I think actually is really good for a recruitment game. They can go and sort of take in the Navy vibes without having to do anything. So yeah, I'm really proud of what this game has come out as. What didn't go well, the big one is technical difficulties that we had. So the computers in the other room they weren't good enough, and we had a lot of trouble getting the VR headset working, getting Unreal working. Information about building VR projects in the Unreal Engine is actually really lacking online. There was a lot of stuff that would work for a first-person or third-person game that just didn't work in a VR project. I think the other major challenge we had was initially only Curtis was doing the coding. I think that held us back. Things did move a lot faster once we got Chloe and Senna and Harry doing coding as well. We weren't able to implement the replacement hands. We didn't really want to keep the rather mechanical looking ones that are in there. We wanted more realistic hands. It turned out replacing the default ones was a lot more complicated than we thought, and we just couldn't get it done. We couldn't get them working. We've had some persistent issues with the lighting, which, I mean, that completely ruined some of the builds that we did. Was you play it and suddenly everything is bright white. We did finally resolve it, and we haven't had the problem at all this week, so we think it's fixed.
So was it the stationary lights, was it?
What it was is you actually have to manually do a separate lighting build before you package the game.
Okay.
It doesn't build them properly during the packaging
Okay.
process. Once we figured that out, and you have to load each level individually, because the build all the levels function doesn't actually work.
Okay. That's
So we
interesting.
now have to go through 10 levels and go build that one, load the next one, build that
Okay, that's
one.
interesting. Okay.
So it's good to know for the future.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately we did need a 3-week extension on this project. I think that the combination of the challenges we had meant we just couldn't quite get there by the original
I mean, it was a
deadline.
client-based brief, so that's fully acceptable, I think, personally. So.
Yeah, I think it has been worth it having the extension. I think it's made a lot of difference. So next slide, this is the final one. So this was a really challenging project. We did have a lot of problems with it. But as I've said several times now, I'm really proud of how this has come together. I'm really proud of the team. Everyone's put such a lot of work in. And I'll show you the gameplay footage in a minute, but yeah, I'm just so pleased with what everyone's done on this. And I believe it fills the client's requirements. I'm hoping they will be happy with this as well. So,
I'll play the clip. You want to turn the lights off, Senna?
it's not that far, I think.
Was it then?
It is, no, yeah, it's in work in progress.
This one? Oh,
No,
that's right.
that's an old one. Work in progress. Scroll down.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one. What?
Just clicking at the top. There you go. There you go.
Use the binoculars to spot the MOB in the water. Good. Now raise your arm towards the MOB. Good work, sailor. Now get to the bridge to help. Get in the seaboat and drive into the MOB.
Away portside seaboat, Royal Navy seaboat, Royal Navy seaboat. This is HMS Derry. You are clear to proceed at best speed to recover the man overboard. Over.
HMS
Daring, HMS Daring. This is Royal Navy Seaboat. Roger that. Seaboat away. Out.
We need to check if the casualty is well and feeling okay. He's freezing cold. Provide him an appropriate item.
Do you hear that? This is the captain speaking. Leading seaman Splash fell overboard. He is now safely recovered aboard and on his way to medbay for a medical review. Your swift professional reactions and the whole ship working as a team is how we effectively and safely manage these situations. Well done to all involved.
Good. Now raise your arm towards the MOB.
Good work, sailor. Now get to the bridge to help.
Man overboard, man overboard, man overboard, man overboard on the port side.